We'll take a break from postseason action and talk about what might be the best news that I have ever heard. Now, I'm a Twins fan, and as you know, they've had a laughable type of season, coming off their first playoff win in 2 decades, right? I know it hurts me to even say that out loud, but it was a really good return to form in 2023, and all Twins fans were excited. So you imagine the kind of slap in the face it felt to have ownership decide to cut their payroll for the players by $30 million. And once again, at the trade deadline, give the front office absolutely zero budget to do anything with. So they were left to what they've got. And the Twins happen to have a couple holes on that roster, and namely some injured pieces. Byron Buxton, Carlos Correa, Royce Lewis, probably the 3 best hitters are, playing half the season. So they definitely needed help down the stretch. They needed a better roster foundation, and that just wasn't possible with the Pohlads. We find out today that apparently sometime during the summer, the Pohlad family had come to terms that they are ready to explore options of selling the Minnesota Twins, which the Pohlad family has owned the Twins for over 40 years. It's been in the family for a long time. And like I said, I truly could not be happier. Now, obviously, the owner is not the one deciding who to bring in out of the bullpen. The owner is not the one hitting cleanup on the team, but all of the roster foundation circles back to the guy at the heart, and that is Joe Pohlad. And if he says, well, sorry, we just don't really have it in the budget to afford this free agent, or, this trade, we'd be taking on a little bit too much money, we can't do it, it makes things really difficult for a team to improve. Again, you are in a winning spot right now. The Twins won the American League Central handedly in 2023. They've got a good, strong core of young players, but as I always talk about, you have to facilitate those young players with proven veterans. Now, they brought in Carlos Santana, who honestly did a pretty good job. He should win the Gold Glove at first base, and he was a pretty good bat. He came up clutch in some big opportunities for the Twins. But past that, you're looking at the copy of last year's roster, just without Sonny Gray, no Jorge Polanco. And when you've got injuries to Correa, Buxton, Royce Lewis, Brock Stewart, Joe Ryan, big pieces to the rotation, the bullpen, and the lineup, and ownership does not allow President of Baseball Operations Derek Falvey to go out and patch those holes a little bit at the deadline. It makes things really difficult. And that is how you see absolute collapses like the end of the 2024 season for the Minnesota Twins. And I think without a doubt for a player, it has got to bring down morale when you're Carlos Correa, when you're Pablo Lopez, anybody in that locker room. It's got to feel like a kick in the teeth when you performed so well last year. And immediately, ownership is looking at how can we save a little bit of money. Now, it is interesting if the plan for a while has been to sell the team. Typically, when you see ownership on the brink of selling the team, they really make a last-ditch effort to do something spectacular. And the Twins obviously did not do that. They made one trade for a middling reliever in Trevor Richards from Toronto. So that is a little curious why the Pohlad family did not want to go head-on into the deadline and keep the roster as it is. But when you look at it, the Twins' valuation is pretty damn high. The fan base is crushed after what transpired at the end of the 2024 season. I almost have to give some sort of appreciation to the Pohlad family for not wanting to be this disgrace within the city of Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota. They're tired of, long since, before this year, they've gotten criticism for penny pinching, trying to trim all the fat off the top and keep payroll as slim as possible. Fans have gotten tired of it, and they've voiced their discretions. So I do respect the decision that if this isn't for them, operating a baseball team where if you truly want to succeed as much as possible, you're going to have to put in individual assets. We talk about running it as a business. Well, a lot of businesses, you have to spend money to make money. And in this instance, it is very difficult and requires an extreme stroke of luck of very cheap young players to have an excellent roster that cost very little. So I am jubilant, I am joyous, and I am extremely happy today. Things might finally be looking up for those Twinkies.